Hey guys, my name is X Factor. Hope you're having a great day, and I want to share with you a bunch of tips and tricks to help open up your mind in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, specifically solo queues, as I've hit top 25 in NA. And the first thing we want to talk about is what you hear. You can trigger audio cues out of people multiple different ways. Being aggressive with the vehicle, opening and closing doors, and just moving around a building. Obviously, we have a rooftop warrior we have to deal with, but I want to fish out an audio cue to see if he's still there. Do you hear that? He's actually above me. Now, if you're uncertain, you can continue to open and close doors in the house or traverse around the multiple levels, getting him to move again. There's no shame in backing down to reapproach a situation, kind of like I'm doing now. So what we didn't hear is as important as what we do hear, because he didn't move, he's steadfast, and we were able to take him down. And oftentimes, it's a simple stutter of a foot that alerts you to somebody being around, much like this next clip. So obviously, you heard the pitter-patter right there. People love to work the outer rim, working clockwise or counterclockwise. That is extremely popular in the higher level players, especially in the final circles. And you can play cover that way. Try to cover yourself, not so much from the middle, but the outer circle. So he knows I'm here because I'm dancing around, and we most certainly know he's there. So it actually doesn't hurt to pre-fire a spot or two, whether it's a bush or a corner, if you can't get eyes on them. But remember, third person is your friend. Try to use and abuse as many angles, including down angles, as possible, just in case this guy jumps off the cliff. And in this situation, you have to deal with this guy and more than likely be the aggressor, because if you try to sneak out to the next circle, you might make it, but he's coming quick behind you, or he's going to step out waiting for that audio cue and just shoot you in the back. The next thing I want to talk about is minimizing your exposure. Doesn't matter if you're outside or if you're inside in a house. Obviously, we see that guy in the tree. We're not going to stand up all the way. We're actually going to crouch. We know he's still behind that tree, and we're just going to light him up. Did you hear that? We've got some vermin in the bush, more than likely. Another third person look again to kind of figure out which bush this guy's at, and then see the green helmet and the gun sticking out. Full execute. One thing I love to do with my headset is actually look left and right to try to figure out exactly where somebody is. And you just saw that in that stairway. I actually turned right to see if he was fully in my left ear to make certain he was above and to the left of me. Here's another example of an audio cue I heard on the other side of the rock. Got my head around in time. And another thing I love to do is use cars to be aggressive. Hear the footsteps? The hollowness of it, first floor on the wood. Anytime you use a car to push a building, it's going to cause somebody to move around, maybe get into a better vantage point, close a door, open a door, something to make a move on you. And that's to your advantage, because if you're behind on the loot game, behind on the circle game, need some heals, you might want to play aggressive. And of course, guns do clip and stick out of things. Be very careful when you're dealing with fap shacks, or, of course, any sort of bathroom or bedroom. It's extremely common to see weapons sticking out. So here we have another audio cue. Found him. Of course, we see the muzzle flash. And do not be afraid to be aggressive. One of the biggest mistakes people can make in this game is have a specific play style, passive or aggressive. It took me a while to learn when to be passive, but aggressive is rewarding, because most people are passive players. They just want to survive, and they don't know what to do when somebody's up in their face being aggressive. Gun sticking out above the barrel. Obviously, we see the door pop open. He's going to come out and greet us, rips us with a shotgun, but we actually survive. So it's something that is extremely beneficial if you can shift gears into both play styles, both passive and aggressive. And of course, this game is that of hindsight. Shoulda, woulda, coulda when you died. You can only act on the information you had, and of course, make the best of that situation. So here we are, speaking of exposure a little bit. Doesn't matter if you're in a building or in a field and there's windows around you, a stairway, think of the angles you can be shot at from outside. In PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, ARs and sniper rifles are just absolutely disgusting downrange if you have a good shot, and compensator, and you're loaded up. So you have to be extremely careful. So right now, my exposure is any angle on this front door. I'm crouched. There is nothing high enough to shoot me through the top. And of course, an angle like this, I could be shot just about anywhere. Saw that guy, give him the quick 2-tap, get to cover. So anytime you're playing in a building, think of where can I be shot from? What about the windows behind me? What about the windows next to me? Or the doorway? Are you in a building and you've absolutely cleared it? Well, then it's up to you to close all the doors. Make it, number one, look unlooted. Number two, give audio cues. If somebody's opening and closing doors behind you, or if they get a little lag, open and close the door again, you're actually going to hear that. So use that to your advantage. If you get mid-circle, or if you got a great setup with a suppressor, maybe an ACOG, and you want to baby that kit, work up a couple kills before you get to the final circle, you want all of those audio cues at your advantage. The next thing we want to talk about is know when to go for the 2-tap. Obviously, if somebody's fidgeting around, you have to be very careful, especially if you're playing in squads as solo. But there's one, because we already knocked that guy out more than likely, and then we're going to work on his friend. Another nasty trick that you can play on people, no matter if it's solo or squads, is if they're having a hard time tracing the shot, whether they're having a hard time with their audio or, of course, with their visual. They don't see you, they don't see muzzle flash, they don't see any indication of your body, and they're trying to scurry for cover. One of the best things that you could do is actually don't shoot when they're still in line of sight. Make them think that they're on the safe side of the tree, rock, or bush. It'll buy you more time for reload and a kill. Currently in Battlegrounds, foliage only draws to be about 75 or so meters in a circle around your body. I'm not talking about bushes or trees, but actual grass or wheat. If you have any sort of verticality, it doesn't offer as much cover as you just saw there. Anybody outside of that 75 meters, if there would have been high hill to my left, they absolutely would have seen just somebody prone in a field. Bushes do offer more cover, but then again, if you have an ACOG or even an 8x optic, you can take a second for that bush to draw in, and you'll see that person, their weapon, helmet, and oftentimes shoulders sitting out. So here is my exposures. Anything high hill that has any sort of vantage point on me can see me in this field with ease. They actually don't see the foliage. Now, when you're in a field war, don't be afraid to third-person focus shoot. If you hold the right mouse button down, you go into somewhat of a zoom. Now, you're going to gain some accuracy compared to hip fire, but nothing is as accurate as first person. Now, when you are going back and forth from third to first person, depending on the optic, and again, this could be a balance issue or it could be a quirky little bug. Sometimes if you go from focus third to first, your crosshair is going to slightly change the position on where it's looking on your screen. So keep that in mind. Don't just think you're going to be perfectly right on where you were when you're focused third person. But you could be extremely accurate within the last circle if you are in something like a field fight like this. I've won quite a few of these field fights, and it's about getting to the circle early and finding a little bit of cover. Maybe it's not exactly a bush, maybe it's a nice patch of grass, but as long as you've got the verticality taken care of and cleared off, like my right shoulder is right now, we know where the last guy is, I don't have to worry about somebody looking down into the bushes. Now, this little hill in front of me where I think this guy is could be somewhat of a problem. So I have two problems right now. First, the circle's a little bit away. There is no grass next to me. There is a road, and this guy's still alive. There's a saying that I kind of live by when in final circles, in open fields like this. Get somebody to move, flush them out. If you don't, the first person to move is usually the one that dies because you're going to go crouch run. You're going to stand up to sprint. You might stand up and start gunning in a specific area. They most certainly know where you're at, and you're more than likely not going to have the time to get on target and take them out unless they go full potato or some crazy stuttering. So here you see he flushes out first. We catch him in third person, switch to first person, and finish the job. Here's another situation where we're kind of in a field fight. He throws a grenade, does some damage, but alerts me to his presence. And this is a cabin that I was playing earlier, killed a couple guys off of, and back in. Cabins are actually great spots to push aggressively because you've got cover to go through their loot. You've got time. Ground is rather flat. If there are no hills or buildings in play, you definitely have the visual advantage because you can stand up, third person, look down, and oftentimes see people sneaking up in the grass. When you are prone, try to spend as much time in third person and get that angle down. We just saw that black body there, obviously a player, and thought we saw somebody there, but clearly not. It's a good idea if you just fire off a bunch of shots to move off of where you were. Not far, but enough to maybe not give the greatest audio cue to another player, especially when you're down to the final two. And when in doubt, chuck one out. They're going to see the grenade if they're close enough, but if you catch a glimpse of them, don't forget to fire one off. Next thing we're going to talk about is elongating fights with somebody who has eyes on you. If they're shooting, other people are going to know, specifically in the final circles where, as you can see, there are 10 people alive. This guy's playing the Fap Shack and back. He dinged me, and I need to change my line of sight. I need to eliminate his line of sight. So, more than likely, he's outside the Fap Shack. He could have eyes on him. He's still alive. There could be pressure. Basically, what you're trying to do is buy time until somebody else pushes him. He actually survived. We got healed up, and we're going to press up to try to get to some cover. Got an idea where people are based on who's shooting me. Drop that line of sight to get out of immediate threat, but there's a problem. Got a guy who had me dead to rights. Quickly bust out the car, smack him in the mouth, and our guy that was behind the Fap Shack is actually moving over to where this guy was. Now, here's the crazy thing. Dead bodies could be bait too. I actually missed the first shot. He was shooting the dead body, and we came back and hit him with the second shot. Battlegrounds has multiple categories of loot. You've got pistols and shotguns. You have chest armor, head armor. You have anything medical, ARs, and of course SMGs. Then accessories for weapons, which is separate from longer range optics like the 4x and 8x. And because of this, ever notice it feels like feast or famine depending on which topic or type of thing we're looking for? That's because all of those categories are thrown out in massive chunks. If you see an AR, more than likely you're going to see a couple. And that's why you've seen several times 3 M416s or AKs on top of each other, with a ton of ammo. So if you're onto some sort of ammo or weapon or armor, you're more than likely going to see a bunch more. If you can't find something like band-aids or medical aids, just completely move. If you're in Raw's Hack, there tends to be 2 different loot tables there based on the size of it, but don't be afraid to pull a quick one. If you're at shooting range and you can't find anything, go to Severny or go into Raw's Hack. More than likely, that loot table is completely different for what you are looking for. So keep that in mind next time you're stuck with a shotgun, an SMG, or maybe have no armor or ARs. The last tip I'm going to give today is a consideration to what just happened. It was a 1v1, 3 people left. Obviously, you could tell they were in a gunfight. And the best thing to do is usually just get information. If you see a player and he's shooting and he's taking hits, which way is he facing? Which way is he shooting? If you see them both, there's something to consider. If there is a circle situation like the far circle I have to travel to, if you see both players, take out the player that's going to be harder to deal with, that has better cover if you've got a line of sight, because you can always sit on the other guy if you know where he's at. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's tips and tricks from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, particularly solo queue. If you guys want some more or want me to go more in depth, drop a like on this video and let me know what subject you guys want me to go more in depth. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. That's a bunch of winner chicken dinners. We'll see you guys soon.